Son is a recently released crime thriller that is now streaming on Peacock. I believe it came out on Peacock a week ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember the exact date. This film is directed by Carrion, and I believe that this film is a remake of a film that he did in French a few years ago. I think 2017, that's when that other movie came out. This film stars James McAvoy and Claire Foy, and the premise and the setup is pretty damn simple. James McAvoy plays a character named Edmund. Edmund one day gets a call while he's working from his ex-wife, and his ex-wife tells him that their 7-year-old son has disappeared from a camping site. Little kid went camping with a bunch of other kids. The kid goes missing, so obviously Edmund comes back, and him and his ex-wife are freaking out, and they're trying to figure out what happened to their kid, where did he go. Pretty soon you start to realize that their kid is missing, and there are reasons for it, and so obviously both parents fall into despair, and then they kind of have to put their heads together to figure out what happened to their kid and how they can find him. This is one of those films where the premise for the movie engaged me a lot more than the actual movie, but because this is the positive section of the review, I'm just gonna focus on, you know, the positive part of the engagement. That some of you just want to skip to the negative part of the video and watch me shit all over this movie or whatever, but just patience, good things come to those who wait. There's some good stuff that this movie has to offer. I don't want to skip over that. You know, I heard some buzz before this movie that James McAvoy signed on to do this movie, and he decided to do this movie without a script. Everything from James McAvoy in this movie is unscripted. He has no dialogue. There's not like a clear direction for him as far as what he's supposed to do. He's basically freestyling. Everything in this movie is off the cuff. Right there, that is an interesting and intriguing kind of premise, to have an actor in a movie where I'm presuming everybody else is scripted, but he's the only one that kind of has to make up every scene as he's going along. There could be a fun sense of discovery with that. There could be a sense of going along on this journey with him, kind of figuring things out as he's figuring it out. And as an audience member, it just lends an extra layer of suspense to the movie, because you don't know how James McAvoy is going to react to each different scene, and that can be kind of fun to watch. James McAvoy is one of the best actors working today. He's obviously proven his range and his talent time and time again, and I wanted to see if he could pull that off in this movie. Does he pull it off? I mean, should kinda. The main positive for this movie is that James McAvoy is never going to phone in a performance. He's gonna give it his all. He's giving a great effort here. I think he actually gives a good performance despite being unscripted for the entire movie. Claire Foy also, while she has kind of a thankless role in this movie, I thought performance-wise she was good for what she was asked to do. As things unfold, it becomes pretty obvious where the movie is going, but at least the setup and the premise and the whole unscripted thing, those are all really good ideas. Also, I do want to hand it to the movie. The movie has some good shots. It's got some good cinematography. Definitely the color palette here is very dreary and dull and very melancholic. I definitely feel like the director wanted to strike a tone, darker and filtered type of movie to reflect the mood of the parents who admittedly are going through a very terrifying situation where their son disappears and they have no idea what happened to him or how to find him. This is one of those movies where it has a good premise and it has a good intriguing setup with James McAvoy and the unscripted thing, and then it just has none of the execution that you would hope would come with that. This movie was actually pretty disappointing. Sometimes it works and James McAvoy is acting his ass off, and then there are other times where it just feels like there's a very awkward setup in scenes between actors when it comes to the dialogue. Sometimes there are scenes that pop up where you can just tell that James McAvoy doesn't know what to say, doesn't know what to do. Sometimes in a thriller like this, a little bit more precision, a little bit more aim probably would have served the story a little bit better. And that's the other big problem I have with this movie, is when it comes to the script, when it comes to the story, there's just not a lot of meat on the bones here, sad to say. The fact that they had the opportunity to go off the cuff and do something random and unpredictable because there's an actor who is supposed to be going through that in this movie. When it comes to the actual setup of the story, it's basic standard issue formulaic stuff. There's nothing new or interesting or intriguing that's added to the story to elevate it beyond what it usually is, which is the story that you would usually see associated with this genre. That's the biggest problem this movie has, is generating interest. It's just a really dull movie. There's just no getting around it. It's dull, it's boring, it's uninteresting, it's formulaic, it plays out exactly the way you want to. They also do the bare minimum with the characters in terms of their setup and in terms of dialogue that could really develop them. And then again, that's probably one of the risks of going into a script and having one of the actors do everything off script. Stuff happens, and then the movie's over, and that's the best recommendation I can give about the movie, which granted, is not a very big one. My Son had the promise and had the potential to be better than what it was. As it stands, I can't go any higher than Fortress of Solitude. It was just kind of okay. Streaming on Peacock if you're interested in checking it out. If for nothing else, James McAvoy is still pretty good in the movie. Speaking of Peacock, what is your favorite streaming service and what are some of your favorite projects and movies from those streaming services? Let me know what your thoughts on that are in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.